All right. So share screen. I have to share screen. Yes, I do. For portion of the screen, and the screen will have the Sibelius file. Nice. Okay. You guys can see this, okay? Thumbs up. You can see my Sibelius file, okay? Nice. All right. So, first we're going to put in a time signature. Type in T for time signature. Today we're gonna do a 3/4. And then just place it anywhere you'd like. And then we're going to spell a major scale, and this time we're going to do an F major in accidental. I would like you to do that first. So I will hold my own horses and let you spell a F major scale ascending in, let's say, in quarter notes, please. Do that right now. And as soon as my beeper goes, all right, that was not supposed to beep. Okay. Hi, Siri. 3-minute timer.
Okay, 3 minutes and counting.
Here we go. Oh, is that a hand? Morgan, you have a question?
Yes, I'm sorry, Professor. Did you say ascending or descending?
Ascending. Ascending.
Ascending. Thank
Yeah,
you.
goes up. Yeah. Feel free to use the keyboard. It's much easier than typing in the notes. I hope you guys been looking at the keyboard. All right, you guys don't need 3 minutes to build a major chord, so I'm just gonna, a major scale. Okay, so select this bar line right here, which is I'm gonna make it nice and big. So, which is where you're supposed to end your scale, and press enter. There you have it. You have a clean staff. All right. So at this point, I would like you to type letter Q to bring up the clefs. And we're going to select the treble clef right here. And then we're going to place it, we're just going to click on the bass clef and replace it with the treble clef. All right. And next it's going to be, I think, our the meat of our exercise here, and it's not that complicated. You just take each of these notes and you build diatonically. Diatonic just means with all the notes in the scale, you're going to build triads above the note. All right. So I will start. So first, yeah. Thanks, Siri. Stop. All right. So first, we're going to build. You can also just copy these notes right here, because these are just gonna be the same notes that we're gonna build on top of. So for the first one, we're going to build a. Keep in mind, it's going to be a diatonic triad, which means you can only use the notes that is already in the scale. All right? You're not adding any notes, you're not adding any accidentals, whatever is in the scale already. So I will also bring out my keyboard so you guys can see it better. How's that? Panels and keyboard. All right. So first, so I'm going to demonstrate. So for the first one, obviously, in order to build a triad, we're going to and using this as the root of the triad, meaning the lowest note of the triad. Okay, not the top. We will do the top, but later. Right now, these are the root position. These are the bottom note of your triad. So I will demonstrate. So first of all, and this we're going to say, so it's, oh, you guys have to press this, excuse me. And it is this. All right, so you guys see what I did? For this virtual keyboard, you just gotta click on this little thing here. It's a chord. You build chords that way. And okay, nice. I'm just admitting people. Nice. Okay, so all I'm doing is just drawing the notes next to each other, every other note that will give me a triad in the root position. All right, so next one, go ahead and just follow me. Next one, we're going to do this guy, and the next one has to be this and this, right? So it's just every other note. All right, so you do have to find it on your keyboard in order to key it in. So now we have two. We're going to identify it, and you'll find out what I mean by it because you're going to complete the rest of this exercise. Okay, so first, that is a major. That is a F. You can type F major, and this is just F major. You don't have to say anything more. F major. This is an F major triad. And this, because the middle note right here is a B flat. B flat to the bottom note G is a minor third interval. It makes this a G minor. Pay attention to how I'm typing this. I'm just making it visually very, very clear that minor chord has small letters. It's not like a hard and fast rule, but it's kind of an unspoken custom in the music theory community. Minor chords, whatever minor would have the small letter. Minor intervals will have the small m. All right. Okay. So next one is, obviously, we're gonna do this, and because these two notes at the bottom right here, do 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 do, is a minor third interval. So that means this guy is a minor chord triad. Okay, so next is do do do. So we got, so this B flat to D is a major third interval. So this obviously is a B flat major. B flat major. Okay? Nice. All right, next one is do, do, do. And this would be a C major. How do I know it's C major triad in root position? Because the bottom two notes are a major third interval. See that? That's a major third apart. Next. Do, do, do. There you go. And this is a minor D minor triad. Things like this. So, do, do. Oh, this one's going to be interesting. This is a special one right here. So we got a minor third at the bottom, and we got a diminished at the envelope, at the outer two notes. So this would be a diminished, E diminished. So this would be an E. Oh, E diminished. All right, and then back to the F. So you don't have to complete.
Angel Delgado me estaba llamando.
Say what? All right. Any questions? This is the so this is the exercise. And next we're going to do this kind of below it. All right. So next I would like you to just kind of click on this guy. Actually, it's gonna be the same. Just type I for instrument. Type I, and then this should come up. I'm a little unsure that you have this function, so raise your hand if you don't have it. So at the bottom staff, just say extra staff below, and you can add an extra staff below. There you go. So now you have 3 staffs. Yes? Type I, the letter I for instrument, and just add an extra system below. You should see this dialog box, extra staff below. All right, and then you just add a 3rd staff.
I'm not seeing the add extra staff. Is it just press I when you're not clicked on anything and it'll be in that dialog box, right?
Yeah. If you guys don't have it, don't worry about it. We'll just, maybe you guys don't have that function. We'll just add a fresh instrument. It's gonna be the same. Do you see it? When it's not highlighted with anything, just type the letter I for instrument, select the bottom staff, and then click on extra staff below.
Yeah,
Thumbs up.
It doesn't give the extra staff option. It just has you can move it. I don't see the extra staff though.
Oh, okay.
I
That's
agree with
interesting.
Michael. I don't see it either.
Okay. No worries. We will just do it the old school way. We're going to select a instrument. We're going to type in, like, what is it? Let's go to woodwind. Let's find a clarinet. How's that? Let's find a clarinet in B flat. And let's add that to score. So now you have 2 instruments, yes? just like mine. Yeah. Nice. Okay. So the next thing is we're gonna build the same but below. So, well, I am going to just copy and paste the original original ascending scale on the upper and giving it to the clarinet, and I'm just gonna build it below here. All right, so first I'm gonna copy paste back. So first note, we're gonna build it below diatonically. All right, so that's do, do, do. So this is a B major triad. That's a B flat major triad. The bottom note is a B flat. And this is a major third. It is enveloped by a perfect fifth. There you go. Next is do, do, do. We're only building triads in their root position. So it's every other diatonic note in the scale. We're not flipping anything into inversions yet. This is a C major. Next. Do, do, do. This. Huh? Do, do, do. Is a D minor. And this would have to be a G and E. This is the E diminished. How do I know it's diminished? These bottom two notes are minor third. And the envelope for this chord is a diminished fifth interval. All right. Next. Do, do, do. And so we got F major here. And then so on and so forth. Do, 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 do. G minor. And A minor. Here you go. Thumbs up when you've finished. Take your time, but hurry up. Thumbs up when you are finished. I see one thumb. All right. you guys have a recording of this anyway. So, but make sure that you know how to do this. Just build triads, diatonic triads. This is, we're gonna call this text title. Diatonic triads of the major and minor scales. All right, so that's what we're doing today. On the theoretical, dry theory, the boring theory side. Trust me, this is not half as painful as all the theory classes I have sat through. So next we're gonna do a minor scale. So this is a major scale, and then we're gonna do a minor scale. And you are required to do all of this in, if you learn all of this in like 2 scales, good for you, you're done. But this is how you practice spelling these chords. Okay, next we're going to type in a minor scale, and I would like this minor scale. Let me think. Do I want to make it somewhat easier? Yeah, let's just do the D minor. Yeah? Okay, let's do D minor. So let's build a D minor harmonic scale together. So it would be in quarter note. There we go. So we got the same issue here, which is we're going to build below and above. So first, we're going to build above. First is, obviously, we're building it above, and this is a D minor, right? And it's the tonic. It's the tonic of, but this time we're gonna kind of label it a little bit differently. You don't have to know this, but you just have to identify whether this is major or minor, and in the root position, diminished or augmented, and all of these goodies, right? So this is actually when we identify this, we call this 1. We call this 1 because this is based on the first scale degree. All right, but you don't have to know this. I just want to tell you to pay attention to the scale degree that you're building this on. So 1 gives us a minor triad, which is why this is 1, small letter. So this is a D minor triad. Same thing, we're going to make this nice and big. D minor triad. Next is, and this is 2 diminished, and obviously this is a diminished. This is, I'll highlight these 3 notes. See, it is a minor third at the bottom, and it's enveloped by a diminished 5th. So this is a E. This is a E diminished right here. All right, and this is what we call a 2. And this is 2 diminished. And next one is really interesting. And what is this? This is a major third at the bottom and a augmented 5th at the envelope. That gives us a F augmented. It's F. F augmented. Right? And this is the 3. So on and so forth. And next would be, again, we have A, G minor, next we have A major, next we have A, B flat major, and next we have again a tiny little minor third at the bottom and a diminished fifth at the envelope. So this is a C sharp diminished. And then back to D. So that is building all the diatonic triads using every scale degree as the root. So this is what this sounds like. That's the scale. This is the raw material for pretty much every song you have ever heard. Except in some parts of the world in classical music when composers got very worked up about the vertical dimension, which we're gonna sample today. All right, so homework assignment, you just continue this exercise in all the key signatures. You can do this in key signature, of course. Accidentals are optional. And if you want to do this in key signature, I highly recommend. It's a little bit of a, for me, it's a little bit of a mind pretzel because I have perfect pitch. But I know a lot of people prefer to do this exercise in key signatures because it orients them into the feeling of the key much better, especially if you're a practitioner of an instrument. So, and this is very easy to achieve in Sibelius. You just type the letter K for key signature and you say, I have D minor. D minor. Where's my D minor? Here's my D minor right here. I was pointing at it. And you just put it right here. And there it is. You only have to do it in harmonic minor. All right. Questions about this exercise? This is just a continuation of your last week's exercise in your Sibelius file. Just type it into the same file. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, thanks. Oh, all right. Questions? Excuse me. All right, I guess you guys don't have any more questions about this. I'm just gonna assume you guys are pretty confident at this point with this. Again, I'm very happy to say we are ahead of schedule in the semester. And so if we finish all the material, we can even break early today. And then next week, we'll just be doing the finals review. Okay, and it's lots of rhythm. You do have to practice a lot of time. I hope you spend learning the rhythms and learning the time signatures and the key signatures or without key signatures and get yourself familiarized with these very, very basic notation things, notational exercise that you have a perfect application to help you accomplish. All right. So next we are what time is it? Yeah. So we're actually gonna get through, hopefully we're gonna get through like the Baroque. Definitely get through the Middle Ages. And then gonna get through to about Baroque, maybe classical, by the time we take a short break. All right. So
Excuse me,
first of all,
Professor, where do we submit the concert report?
concert report is in the syllabus. Should be last week sometime.
Yeah, I checked the assignment folder and I couldn't find a submission. I did it about a month ago.
Oh, good. So actually, until Charlie has access to Blackboard, I'm gonna advise everyone to submit your stuff to another channel, and
I could
all I did
email it
was
to.
ask the school to give Charlie access to our Blackboard, and then they evoked my access to Blackboard. I don't know what's going on. Like today, earlier today or yesterday, I forgot. I couldn't log into Blackboard myself, and that course just disappeared from my roster. Your course, you guys disappeared from my Blackboard roster. So actually, I had to call them earlier, like find out what was going on. Anyway, so I think most likely I'm gonna ask you guys to upload your concert report with your finals. The finals are gonna be the same with the midterm, which is gonna be on a Google, on a on a Google platform where you uploaded your midterm paper.
So
It's
we
gonna
just
be
had,
easier to track over there. So that's pretty much what we have for the end of semester for
So,
evaluating.
so do we just hold on to the concert report until the final exam comes?
Yeah, I mean it's pointless to submit your stuff to Blackboard if Charlie does not have access to Blackboard.
Yeah, it
Right?
sucks.
Yeah, exactly. And Charlie actually, Charlie is still, I think, driving in the car. And Charlie, have you heard from anybody? I copied you on that. Nobody, nothing, right? Yeah, this is
Nothing yet.
you
No.
guys. Yeah, me either. I sent out a request for Charlie to have access and grade all of your assignments. Like, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Well,
So
maybe I can talk to you at another time. I believe I emailed you my phone number.
oh, okay, all right.
So if
Yeah,
not,
we'll talk.
I'll send it to you because I know that it's crunch time.
Yeah. Fortunately, our assignments are gonna be pretty straightforward. And Google is gonna do automatic grading. So the most of it is gonna be just viewing your PDF document. So Charlie, you and I maybe should talk before this weekend. And
please.
just to prepare like what are we gonna do if the school doesn't give you access to Blackboard like yesterday?
Okay.
Know?
I'll email you and I'll send you my number and then we'll chat. We'll converse.
Sounds good. All right, everybody, get yourself vaccinated as soon as possible. You know, just be safe until then. Just don't do anything risky until you're 2 weeks out. I'm not kidding. Friend of mine got COVID between 2 doses, and she got very very sick. She was able to hang in there for almost the entire pandemic. So this is not like, I'm making this up, some tale that I'm telling you. This is someone who's very dear to me, and I was pretty shaken up. I didn't know that was even possible. and her partner works at a hospital. So we suspect that was how she got it. She was actually not even going out. So just be really, really vigilant right now until you get the second dose and 2 weeks out. All right. So great.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there's a lot of different strains out there, guys. So be extra careful.
Exactly. And we don't want you to spend all this semester, doing all this work and not be able to, and get sick and not be able to get your finals in. All right. All right. So let's move on to.
Sorry, Professor,
This
before
is
we move on, I have a question.
sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
So since we haven't received our midterm grades, is it possible to have makeup work considering we don't know where we stand in the class at this point?
Sure. What kind of makeup work do you have in mind?
Maybe a separate kind of concert report or spelling out a different kind of major minor scales or
Totally.
um,
Yeah, totally. In fact, the finals material overrides. Do you guys notice if you can do whatever is in the final, it's an aggregate. So whatever you can do in the final is actually based on what you can do at the midterm. Midterm was just really a quick check-in where you guys are with intervals and the listening part. So everything that happens in the final has the midterm as the foundation. And
I
we'll go through
understand
that
that.
next week. We'll go through that
Sorry,
next week.
we don't know how we did on the midterm. How would we know if we're doing well in this class if we don't have our grades?
Okay. I actually looked at the Google Sheet. I didn't notice anybody behind. Everybody seemed to be doing okay on the multiple choices. So I actually looked through it. I didn't see anybody behind or having trouble. So I actually told you guys that you did well on the midterm. So I hope that's helpful. That it's just
Yes,
we
thank you.
haven't we haven't just there's no point for me to grade the midterm if the blackboard is like there's nowhere for me to put that in. It's just for my information where I need to teach more and get you guys caught up more. But it seemed like everybody was doing okay from the look of the midterm. So no worries at this point. All right.
Okay,
But the
great. Thank you
concert
for that
report,
information.
yeah, no problem. But the concert report, absolutely do attend a concert, and I'm very curious what you guys choose to attend and what you choose to write about. That's sort of the highlight of the semester is getting your concert report, right? And of course, getting your manuscript preparation. That's pretty fun too. Reading through like all of you guys just typing in the notes. That's fun too. All right. So we're gonna move on to a little bit of a music history crash course here. I had to do like 2.5 years just to get what? No, that's not right. 2.5 semesters just to get to where you're gonna be today. 2.5 semesters for the first half. All right. So first, the earliest discovered notation of any kind of music, at least in the Western world. So,
Professor.
how about and sorry, what's going on? Is there another question?
Yes. Can you post last week's recording? If you get the chance.
Class recording?
Yes.
Oh yeah, I have to like download and upload to YouTube. I'll do that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. And this week's too. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Sorry.
Make a note and oh, give me 1 second. Let me make a note of it. post the. Okay. Nice. Okay. So, all right. This is about, I think, 1400 BC. This is the best we know. The some kind of archaeological site, just like these plates that they discovered. This land is the current Syria, but back then they're just known as the Hurrian cult songs. It's an album of maybe two to three dozens of these songs. Here's sort of our best guess of what they sounded like, and they're actually like notations, but they look like weird little just squiggly lines. They're nothing like what you guys are doing. But I thought it would be fun to have you guys just listen to what that might sound like from 1400 BC. This is the kind of music that, people were just kind of took note. Okay, this is obviously not a casual musical event that people actually took the trouble to put it down, all this effort to create a record for it. Record keeping wasn't a thing, until some high government, right? All right, so let's see. Here we go. I should probably share sound because this is just a recording. There's no video. Hold on, let me just see. Computer audio. All right. Let me know if you guys can hear this really clearly. It should be. What? Here. All right. So, what do you guys think this song is about? Just the wildest guess, just from the way it sounds. I know the words, even the words, the Hurrian language, we still don't know too much about it. So even if I tell you the translation of the words, it's gonna be like our best guess, right? But what do you think this music is about? What's worth singing about back in 1400 on a land known today as Syria? You guys just unmute and you can just talk. Go ahead.
Maybe
Morgan.
it's calling out to God. I noticed a few words recognize the same pronunciations in Hebrew, and it means
Oh,
to call out.
yes. Very, very close. That's very close. So the little we know, some words translate to "Thou lovest them in thy heart," and it's some kind of hymn song, to the wife of the moon god. That's what this song is about. So it's definitely a worshiping. It's about worshiping a god, a deity of some kind, right? And then that's not so different, actually, not so different from, many centuries later, even today. You go to any services anywhere, there's gonna be music. In those, most likely, there's gonna be music in these rituals that are has been in every corner, in every shade that it comes with worshiping. So okay, now I'm gonna show you what's still alive and very much practiced today. And I'm personally struck by how similar they sound. Like, you tell me whether you find it similar as well. So I'm going to play the track, and you tell me what you suspect this is. Okay? Yeah. All right. So, best guesses? This is music used in just simple entertainment, and sometimes it accompanies a geisha dance, geisha performance in I would say, like, still in practice today in Japan. I just find it so striking that plucking instrument with voice almost together in their melody, and this is a just a single string for now. But actually, you might not, if you have better headphones, you'll hear that there's a very low hum of the male voice also chanting. And the song form is also very different. All right, in the Hurrian cult song, each almost the landing phrase is always repeated. It's really interesting. So, like, da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. So like the ending phrase is also being it's being emphasized in a repetition. So in the earliest instinct of our ancestors' musical instinct, they already know that music is symbols, because for symbols, to repeat something, meaning that in order to emphasize something, you're gonna have to repeat it. Increase the frequency. Repetition gives you that feeling of hierarchy. So, as opposed to words, we use other things, right? Language use other things to create the sense of hierarchy and importance. And then there are grammars and all that. So even from, such remote time and such remote locations, people's musical instinct seem to align in this unspoken rule of symbolic rule. So really interesting that the last phrase of this 1400 BC cult song, worshiping song, repeats the very last phrase. Every last little phrase, the shortest phrase, is repeated once. That's the form of that song. All right. So, next we're gonna move. We're gonna advance. Maybe let's see. We're gonna advance to about the time Middle Ages. And so I want you guys to watch a little video of how the modern notation was created. Okay, so and I apologize. I have no idea where that video went. Oh God. I can't find that video anymore. How could this just be taken out of my playlist? All right. So, but yeah, whatever. These will do. This is not the one that I had in mind, and the one I had in mind, much more sophisticated in this. But this'll give you an idea. So, let's. Here we go. Let's take a look at this together.
Hey, welcome to 12 Tone. Look at this. You've probably seen something like it before. It's just regular musical notation. We've talked about how it works already, but today I'd like to look at why it works. That is, how did we get here? How did these dots and squiggles come to represent this? Well, to answer that, we're gonna have to go back in time. Like, way back. Western notation can trace its roots back to roughly the 9th century when music began to be written down with what are called neumes, a word I am very excited that I get to say a bunch of times. The first neumes worked something like this. You'd write out your lyrics, then you'd put a mark over each syllable that represents how the melody moves there. It's a fairly crude approach. They don't even tell you about the relative pitches of the syllables, just how each one was ornamented. In order to understand why this was good enough, though, there's a couple things you need to know about the music of the time. First of all, it was primarily an oral tradition. Most people couldn't read. You learned songs by ear. The point of neumes then wasn't so much to communicate new ideas as it was to help you remember the details of songs you already knew. The other important point is that this was used mostly for sacred chants, so the syllables, not the notes, were the most important part. It seems weird to us now, but they just had different priorities and their system reflected it. Over time, though, it became clear that encoding some pitch information would probably be beneficial, which led to the invention of heightened neumes. Here you do the same thing, but you position the symbols to show the relative starting notes. This is still very basic, and it doesn't give you exact intervals or anything, but we're beginning to see the echoes of real notation. The next step then was to add a line. This gave you some absolute reference point against which the notes could be compared. This line usually represented the position of either F or C. That's a little misleading though. Absolute pitch wasn't considered all that important, so the letter names moved around depending on the key. More accurately, the line represented either the middle or the end of the scale. Early notation often colored the line to show which note it was, with red for F and yellow for C. Later, this would change to just writing the note name on the line for added clarity. With this, we could start writing a full melody down, but with only one line to compare against, it still offered a little too much ambiguity. And then came Guido of Arezzo, who popularized the first real staff. Unlike modern staves, Guido's used only 4 lines and had no standardized pitches. You would just mark which of the lines was F or C and be good to go. But despite all that, it was still a system of musical notation that required no guesswork, no assumption, and most importantly, no learning by ear. Musical ideas could, for the first time, be transmitted without the aid of sound, simply with a few scratches on a piece of paper. Well, almost. Guido's staff told you all about pitch, but it contained no clear indications of rhythm. The first real innovations on that front are often attributed to the composers Leonine and Paratine, who developed what are called rhythmic modes. These were predefined patterns that notes could fall into, much like metrical feet in poetry, which we've covered before. A note's length was determined by where it fell in one of these patterns. At roughly the same time, square noteheads began to appear, marking clear locations for the various neumes. These noteheads conveyed melodic information, taking various shapes depending on the ornamentation of the phrase. The idea of using them to mark rhythmic information came later in the 13th century from Franco of Cologne. His symbols were imprecise by modern standards, but they were still governed by well-defined rules, vastly expanding the options for conveying rhythm. They were even further developed during the Ars Nova period, which featured the addition of more note values, letting us write more complex rhythms, and a push towards specificness and clarity in notation, making the rules for reading rhythms simpler and easier to follow. From here, we're almost done. A few small changes exist. The staff got a 5th line, our note heads changed from squares to circles, we added dotted notes to clarify their meanings in the flag and beam system to show arbitrarily small rhythmic values, and we picked up some new tricks like clefs, key signatures, and bar lines. The rise of modern tuning introduced a need to represent sharps and flats, so we added accidentals. New developments in music keep forcing us to devise new techniques for notating them, but the ideas of the Ars Nova movement are still alive and well today. We're still pretty much living in their world, just a little bit fancier. If you want more details, there's some links in the description to a few papers that dive further into a lot of these areas. We're gonna take the next few weeks off for the holidays, but we'll be back with new videos in January. Until then, thanks for watching. If you want to help make these videos possible, please consider supporting 12.
Alright, so now, I'm gonna show you.
Could you share that link? Could you share that link? That was interesting.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a crash course on early notation. Without.
I definitely did not know that.
So I'm actually gonna show you guys like what it looked like. And so they literally looked like this. I hope you guys can see it. I'm gonna make it as big as I can, but yeah, there we go. So this is actually what they look like. Like this. They look like this. Before then they added some note values. These are tremendously expensive to produce. So only church with that, financial backbone would be able to produce something like this. All right, and that's a C clef. That's an F clef. That's just a little new. That sounds like so so we all kind of, for professional musicians, we sort of have to learn how this. So this is what they look like on the. I don't know how much. Oh, I'll stop share so you can see this. This is what they look like in music history books, which you guys actually don't have to know. They look like this. And every little squiggly line, it means how to ornament and how the note bends and go down or not. All right, so I'm not gonna bother playing you the Gregorian chant, because that stuff you can find, like, there are millions of them on YouTube. Gregorian chant is not that mysterious. All right, I personally don't feel the need to spend class time, but I do want to show you these two guys, Periton and Leoning, from the Ars Antiqua, which is basically a fancy way of saying the French back then. And these two were shaker movers, just in terms of how they kind of began this idea of being a composer. Like, music can be composed and organized in a way that utilizes the visual. And that means that the person who's doing it, that act, no longer dissolves into history and gone. There's a record of it. With the record of it comes responsibility, autonomy, and identity, right? So that's why, like, this idea of composure is very strange, and it's very Western. So it's tied to the idea of notation, having a record, and remind you, create a permanent memory in documents about a form of sound, a sequence of sound, music. So, okay, so I'm gonna play you, at least this is one of my favorite piece by Periton, and sure enough, there's these rhythmic modes that this dude is talking about. And that took a long time, by the way. That was like from at least 800 to, so Periton was between 1100 to 12, so the guy didn't live very long. 1190 to 1225, so 35 years old. He died when he was 35. They didn't understand they need to wash their hands before they eat back then. Okay. So this is where is that track? Oh, that track is in. Okay. So I'm gonna share sound again. So this is just a track. I don't think it's on YouTube. This is just from my own archive recordings. But check it out. It's actually, like, really listen to it, because this is sort of the very, very beginning, sort of the first sprout of what composed music could sound like. And there's design in it. There is some goal in it. Okay, it's not just so spontaneous anymore. Computer audio. We're gonna share computer audio, and here we go. This is Alleluia. So the text is Alleluia. Let me see if I can read you a little bit of the text. So this is Alleluia, the birth of the glorious Virgin Mary, from the seed of Abraham, risen from the tribe of Judah. All right, so that's the text. And how long is this? This is 5 minutes long, based on and I hope you can hear, because there are actually 3 voices here. This is called an organum triplum, meaning there are 3 voices going on at the same time. So think about what you guys have been doing. You guys have been piling notes on top, 3 notes on top of each other. Okay, so this is literally like the very, very beginning of people begin to negotiate what that space is, more than two. Before then, it was all just two voices, parallels, whatever. It sounds like this, like. It's just Gregorian chant, but highlighting one partial in the overtone series. But now we're talking about whoa, no, 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 no. That's just too basic. That's like, that's too pure. I want to bring a little human element into it, and every time you bring a little bit human element in it, they want to stay in the vertical space just a little bit longer in order to feel something. All right, that's the sort of the what we separate from other species is that we have these feelings, and we kind of connect to the moments in time with our feelings. So all of the sudden, music began to generate more than just two voices parallel or one melody which it's fine, but something might be welcome to give it an additional dimension into the human experience. Human, okay? We're not just doing music for the gods anymore. We're doing music for human. I think that I am writing this music. I'm paraphrasing. Parrotin might be thinking, I'm writing this music and I gotta make my audience feel something that they're gonna it'll make them feel like it's worth coming back to hear it again. All right, and all of these music are meant to be performed and heard in a church space during rituals, during services, and obviously, this is the music of the church. Oh, All right. So this is the whole piece. You guys just sat through an entire piece that is meant to be performed during a service in a like mid to late medieval church. So I think that's pretty cool. So I did want to give you guys at least this experience. So instead of playing excerpt, I decided that this piece we're gonna hear it in completion. Okay, so well, I was hoping to get through to Renaissance, at least finish the Renaissance, and maybe going to Baroque, but we'll just quickly, the next pieces, we're just gonna go quickly. So I also want to ask you guys what you heard. So the question I have in mind is, did you hear the difference between the first song, which is obviously a little older, a lot older, but doesn't matter. It in your ear, did you pick out how many notes to a syllable? See, this is something that is very conscious in every piece of vocal music that is generated, right? How many notes are attached to one syllable? So for the first song, the Huron Cult song, it's almost one syllable per note, right? And think about most of the pop songs also. One syllable per note. But in this piece by Periton, I can tell you that I lost count already. Just this, the Alleluia, just the first, just the first one. Okay, there's 1, 2, 3. So that's an average of 3 notes per bar. So there's that's 14 times 3. How much is 14 times 3? What, like, I can't do math.
42.
42. Okay, so there's 42 in one voice and 42 in the other voice. They're almost parallel. And then there's one long held drone at the bottom. And this drone at the bottom is almost one syllable per note at first, and then it goes aggregated into Alleluia. The lay is like one really, really, really long note, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes, and then Lu, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 notes, and ya, we got at least like another underneath as a drone, just the syllable ya. We have, this is how many? This is at least 20 something bars of in 3s and 4s. So we're talking about another almost 100 notes. These are called melisma. Melisma meaning there's many, many, many notes. So the voice almost becomes an instrument because it's no longer carried just by the vowels and consonants of the language that it's setting, right? It's been set to. So it's an important at least for you guys who didn't take music history in before you or alongside your music theory course. It's important to pay attention to these treatment of the negotiation that is constant between notes and language. Especially all of you are gonna be much more seasoned in music with voice and with text and with words than in most classical. And then we're gonna get into it in the second half of the class. With classical music, in fact, what caught fire and fashion later was absolute music, which means that we're not gonna have any reference to words or language, but just music by itself. But you see, this idea of the absolute music, although history books wouldn't tell you this story necessarily, but for composers, it was very obvious that the beginning of carrying all these notes without changing anything in the language is the beginning and the birth of absolute music. Although, if you look up absolute music in dictionaries, it'll tell you that absolute music does not include vocal music because vocal music requires texts. So you see, I actually wrote part of my doctorate paper on this subject, basically challenging all the history books that are out there. This notion that somehow vocal music is excluded from the idea of absolute music just didn't convince me. So I'm here to convince you guys. You guys tell me, why can't voice be part of the instrumental music canon? I don't see why not. And in this moment you just heard, for me, this is enough to convince me that voice here, there is no way that to change every note in every syllabus, alleluia, 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 would have the same effect that this composer decided, the Periton decided to do, which is to have all these 40 notes at a time to one syllable and just milk all of the vocality and the music that is in the voice, and less distraction of the syllables, and just have the syllable activate the music that is in the voice. So I thought, wow, this I gotta let you guys experience this whole piece, which I just read you the translation. It literally is like 3 verses, but it's 5 minutes of music. Okay. And this idea of the drone is the last thing we'll listen to before we take a break. This idea of the drone. Let's just take a listen together at this modern. I don't know if I've shared. I believe I've shared this guy with you. This is one of the most celebrated living Indian classical vocalist of our time. This guy, and hear the drone. Hear the drone there. And half an hour later, same drone. The drone didn't change. By the way, this rag, which is the Indian word for a pitch organization system they call rag, it's very similar to our concept of scales. This is what gives them the mood, the emotions, and this is one of the saddest rag there is. It so just happened it features a minor third interval against the drone. So I'm not kidding you. There's something about the human musical experience that the way that our inner ear and inner intuition works that just kind of just makes time and regions and cultures sort of like irrelevant at the core. So this drone, is still alive today. Although drone is no longer even a thought, much of a thought in the Western classical music, but this drone would go on every time you attend a live Indian classical music concert. The drone is there, and the drone is determined by the time of the day, the season, and what the instrument tells the musician their most comfortable pitch that evening, that concert. That's how it happens, mostly. All right. So we're gonna take a quick break, and after we come back, we're gonna dig pretty quickly into the Renaissance, a little bit before Renaissance also. And so right after this period of Puritan, and composers began writing what we call motets. And motets are multiple voices. We're in the age of the polyphony. And this is sort of in the growing pain age of what later we get to call harmony, okay? And we get to call triads and all these vertical rules and laws that formed what you have to learn in your textbooks today. All right, so we'll take a quick break. So we'll meet back here at 6:45, and then as soon as we just wrap up all of these musical material, and then we'll just call it a day. All right, and for 6:45, we'll meet back here. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. So next we're gonna fast forward maybe 200 years or so. This all sort of happened in the region today known as France. As much as we wanted, just like, French, you guys, too much nationalism, right? Well, they were pretty instrumental in that period in Renaissance, in the development and the strengthening of the Western idea of music. So the next dude I'm gonna talk about, Josquin Dupre, again, French dude, and so what was he? He's sort of we don't know too much about him as a person, but know that back then, even with that little development in transportation, he was a very well traveled man. So, this idea of a composer being kind of upper middle class, have the means to live a quality life, it was already forming. And he had at least some foundation in his life to be noticed and to establish himself in the institutions at the time. So we're talking about, this guy was probably the equivalent of like a composer in residence at Carnegie Hall, at Lincoln Center. This kind of cultural institutions recognized him as an individual who calls himself a composer. Okay, so this all of this happened in the span of something like 200 years. And being a composer, you don't have to always write music for the church. So he wrote all kinds of music, and both sacred music and secular music. And we're going to listen to a snippet of one of his religious works. And that will give you, I think, a pretty good idea of where all this supposedly order in the beginning, this is the beginning of forming some kind of order, coherence in the vertical world. Okay, before him, pretty much everything sounded pretty random, right? It didn't seem like there's a there's a point where you can hear the logic. There is a grammar. There's a thing you can trace in the vertical. Pretty much, everybody was moving more or less in a pace that is agreeable, and then whatever happens vertically is just kind of whatever happens. There isn't that much control over what happens vertically. But listen to him. He has a very different idea about what should happen vertically at the same time, and where should everybody sing together to express that, right? So let me find Dupre. Here's Dupre, and the best thing about YouTube is that you get to pick music history tracks with the sheet music already printed on it. These are huge study aid that weren't available in my time. So you guys go ahead and just use it. Whoa. Okay, did you guys hear this huge difference in the vertical universe? Let's hear that moment again. There's something happening like right here. Whoa. This is later known as a deceptive cadence, meaning that you kind of expect it to end the phrase in a way that feels it has resolved, but no, not yet. And that's what this harmony is already forming, that feeling of unresolved, and we gotta keep searching that particular feeling. All right. So yeah, but there's still this is still, like I said, kind of between kind of medium rare, between super organized and functional harmonic writing, between that, which we're really just about to discover next, versus completely free and not disorganized but unorganized, in a way that later would be required by the church, because the words has gotten, as you can see here, there's still just 4 voices. So you can still hear what the singers are saying. Okay. At some point, some dudes got kind of creative, and then they start to write motets for church services for like 40 voices. They think more is better. They were very, very wrong. And then there was a church reform that took place mainly in Germany, now known as the region that is known as Germany, in the Lutheran Church, namely. And this happened because that's part of it. That's part of it. But before that, even the Italians noticed that delivering the text to the audiences were the most important thing. The music is secondary. Right? And that's a battle we still fight today. Right? So how much is propaganda? How much is art? So that line was renegotiated right between that time, and the dividing line shifted towards clarity of the text. And the composer who was put on that mission, his name was Palestrina, among others. Okay, he was not the only one. Palestrina. And this is what Palestrina sounds like. Okay, that's the first phrase. Jesus. First section of this piece. It, you know, it's obvious like the vertical universe is much more organized, and you can hear the text with no problem. And this became so standardized that like doing anything other than this would be kind of unacceptable by the institution. You're gonna have to be like a freelancer or just doing this on your own kind of thing, right? So Palestrina does have a contemporary and did exactly that. So this is one of music history's nemesis characters, okay? So first of all, he was a prince. He was a nobility. And his name is Gesualdo, Carlos Gesualdo. He was this nobility in like a province in Italy. Not a big deal. Not like central figure, right? And he was kind of left to do his own thing. So he was a pretty tormented person, as in today we would say that he probably suffered from mental illness. We don't know. But here's what we know. What we know is that this dude found out that his wife was having an affair, and he found his wife having an affair with another dude, and he killed his wife and carved both of their hearts out. And then he went home and he murdered his son. So this is like, I'm not making any of this up. You guys can look it up. And so this dude, and he also wrote, he was a composer, and he wrote lots of vocal music, motets like vocal music. And I would like to just show you one of the pieces that he was known for, right? And this is Dupre. I'll just make sure I have it in front of me. So, oh, hello. I'm way past it. Let's see. Gesualdo's. Here we go. So we call, these are secular pieces, so we call it magical. And so this is the text. I'm going to read you the text of this piece. I am dying, wretched in my grief, and the one who is able to give me life, alas, is killing me and is not willing to give me aid. Oh, painful fate. The one who is able to give me life, alas, gives me death. Whew. So, no kidding. So I'm going to play you, and I want you to pay special attention to the way harmony is written in this piece. That is almost like the very first romantic self-expression piece that we can today very comfortably say that this was so ahead of his time in terms of the music, not in terms of, you know, him as a person, but in terms of music. So, I'm gonna actually pull this up. This will end up in the finals, so I'm actually gonna send you YouTube track of this as opposed to my own track. Here we go. Right here. So, you guys see this and hear this? Thumbs up if you see this. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Next, the next part is a repetition of the second part. Yeah, that's this is still, this sounds so 21st century just in terms of its pitch organization. It's inconceivable that this piece was actually composed in 16, like around 1600, 1500 turning into 1600. Yeah, late Renaissance. Whew. Crazy. It's absolutely crazy how a person who is this tormented could function at a level that could turn out pieces like this that were not it does not belong. It's just its own thing. It does not belong in any specific time in history. That's why it sounds kind of futuristic, even for us today. All right. So, for example, I'm going to pull up a piece, and I'm sure you, some of you know me, that one of my spiritual fathers, my influences, was this kind of turn of the century composer Gustav Mahler. So Mahler, in one of his last, very, very last symphonies, I'm gonna play you just an excerpt. You tell me if something echoes this harmonic world or not. It's kind of striking, actually. We will listen to Mahler, but we will listen to Mahler's. There's gonna be another symphony, but right now let's see. Yep, this is it. So check this out. This is turn of the century. This is I believe in the 19 teens. This music is being composed in 19 teens, and try to hear the harmonic language, and compare it to something that I just played you from 1600. All right. Oh. All right. So something like this, of course, you know, this is a huge orchestra with hundreds of people on stage, and there's literally for this is about 5 staffs for strings. So Gesualdo has, let's see, Gesualdo had what, five voices for the 6 voices, I believe, for this. So he had 6 staffs to work with. This composer, Mahler, Gustav Mahler, writing for string orchestra, you know, he can divide any notes he want in every note that you guys can think of. But in terms of this harmonic progression, right, that kind of like taking you to the kind of places that your emotions just kind of you kind of want to go there, but you didn't know that place existed, but it kind of boop just happened, and then you just go along with the ride. And believe me, if you're in the real concert hall for this performance, this is really overwhelming. Coming off the speaker, it doesn't sound much, but in the real hall, this is pretty magical. Okay, so in terms of this kind of repertoire, there's 2 pieces that you must know as a classical music student. This is a little more advanced, so I'm not gonna assign you this piece. But Mahler's fifth symphony, there is a slow movement that is sort of this intro to the magic of these very, very tender moments in orchestral repertoire. So I'm going to put the link in the so really feel free to find whoever is your favorite interpret, your favorite conductor for this piece. But this is my teacher's teacher. My teacher's teacher worked with Leonard Bernstein. So of course I'm biased and I like this one. But you know, this movement, everybody who goes through a classical music course must know. And that's number 1. And the other piece, which you also have to know, is, again, it's called Adagio. We're talking about harmony here. That's why things have to slow down significantly for harmonic expression to take hold in your body, right? So Adagio for strings is the piece. So I'm gonna have you guys listen to these in your own time. All right, and this piece has significance for a lot of people during 9/11. I believe I brought this up once. Maybe I should bring it up twice. Is that when 9/11 happened, and actually I was there. I was not not like where it happened, but I was nearby. So New York Philharmonic's first performance after 9/11, this was played, and there was not one person in the audience who did not shed tears. It was just so, it was so sad. It was so sad. But having gathered with the New York Philharmonic, canceling all of their programming and began their concert that evening with this piece, was such a cathartic experience for all of us who lived through the horror of 9/11. Anyway, I just wanted you guys to take your own time, and so no rush, but take your time with these two pieces. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to share with you, and then we're gonna wrap, is I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna play it, but I want you to kind of give it your best guess. Like what, like which century this piece is from. All right, so but we're not gonna listen to the whole thing, but I want you guys to kind of have a feel for this kind of idea of harmony and melody, which is in its purest form. It's just melody and harmony, and that kind of articulates about 95% of the music you consume in your lifetime. So here is the purest form of it, and I want you guys to kind of give me your best guess what this is. Okay, I'm only gonna play the soundtrack for now. Okay. It's not one of those pieces I can just show an excerpt. It's meant to be heard in its entirety, and this is the fifth movement of a album of pieces. First of all, take a wild guess which century this piece is written. The instruments are cello and piano. These are the two instruments that you just heard. You can type your guess, your best guess, in the chat.
I'd say 20th century.
Wow. Was that Morgan?
Yes, it was.
Oh, wow. So we have lots of votes for 19th century, early 18. Keep going, keep going. Give me your best guesses. Yeah, 15th. How many of you felt almost comforted by the sound world of this piece? All right, so now I'm going to unveil this piece to you guys. So the title of this piece, the entire album is called Quartet for the End of Time, and in French. So it's written by a French composer, 20th century French composer, Olivier Messiaen. And this movement is titled Praise to the Eternity of Jesus, of Jesus. So I have, in this lecture, I've gone full circle back to the liturgical, the sacred repertoire that we began, okay? So let's not see history as some kind of linear story narrative where it goes from something like this, augments into what you all would consider very advanced musical culture. It's not. It's not. I think it goes something like this, and then there's all these swirls of ideas, and they sometimes touch each other. But at the essence, this all was born out of this idea that music is what connects us to the divine, to the deities, and to the superpowers, and also grounding us on earth. And so, for example, the Indian classical music is always grounded in the drone, and it's considered very earthy in its approach to art. And that the 14th, 15th century composers were most concerned with whether this music could express their sentiments towards the divine. And then we fast forward to now 20th century. This composer wrote this piece as a prisoner of war in a war camp during World War II. And yes, he was very faithful his entire life, and a composer, but prisoner of war in a prison camp. And he wrote for 4 musicians who happens to be there at the time. So consider this. If notation weren't in the picture, do you think this piece would survive a prisoner of war camp? And I would say, thank God he learned notation, and this piece gets to be almost encapsulated in this score that survived World War II. So you can put the dates together. This was during World War II. This was composed. And the simplicity of this piece, it's actually in the markings in the score, it's supposed to sound like it's eternal, that it's so slow that it kind of sounds eternal. And this is the music, the composer who was imprisoned at a camp that he does not know whether he will survive. This is the music that came out of him. So, so I want you guys to, of course, all of this is beyond just learning the theory and all the nerdy stuff about spelling triads, learning the scales, putting notes on top of each other, and just see what happens. Or there's so much that cannot be expressed in language and words that you can ever even dream of to express in language and words. But music, you just stack a few notes on top of each other, 10 minutes, it's eternal. It's timeless. So, so I'm very privileged to be able to share this kind of magic that is very distinct of the Western classical music. Especially, this is almost a gift of notation. And there's, a lot of course, there's a lot of theories and hypotheses that people don't they just don't agree. Scholars don't agree that notation was necessarily on the side of the music. Does that make sense? Versus a complete oral tradition. All right. So some still argue that much is lost in the development of notation. That's true. That's true. But I want each of you to make your own decision once you are a little more fluent with notation, whether the aid of the visual aid of having written something down. Now that act, what does that act mean to you? All right, and in the electronic world, then making a record, publish it, serves the same purpose. It becomes a permanent record. Does it change the moment-to-moment decision in the creation of such a document? And what kind of integrity can you aspire to have with this in mind, with this framework? Permanent record, permanent. It'll outlive you for sure. Everything you write down will outlive you. People will know you through these things that you put on the record. With that thought, any questions? We have to wrap up in 2 minutes. Next week is finals review. So you can also just save all your questions for next week. So come prepared with questions. All right? Great. You guys have a great weekend. I will see you next week.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.